The vote of no confidence in Finance Minister Chris Sinclair is defeated. The economy declines by 0.7% so far this year. And in sports, the FIFA World Cup makes its scheduled stop in Barbados.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Michelle Arthur with the Tuesday, October 22nd edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, the no confidence motion brought by the opposition Barbados Labour Party against the Finance Minister took centre stage in Parliament today. CBC's Dale Ford covered the debate and has details of the proceedings. Dale?
Michelle, the no confidence motion brought against Finance Minister Chris Sinclair by the opposition Barbados Labour Party has been defeated. The vote was put to a divide in the lower house, with the government voting 15 against and the opposition 14 in favour of the motion. Opposition leader Mia Motley, who introduced the motion, told the House Mr. Sinclair has been charged in relation to breaches of law, incompetence, lack of confidence and failure to exercise judgment in his position of Finance Minister. She took Mr. Sinclair to task in particular for the handling of a number of policies announced in this year's budget.
He announced the tax, sir, without the requisite legal authority being vested in the Commission of Land Tax to collect it, such that when the Commission of Land Tax seeks to collect it and people don't pay, there is nothing a single person in Barbados can do or can be affected by enforcement from the Commission of Land Tax. Similarly, sir, he implemented and announced a temporary consolidation tax, and we have learned since that it is to be collected by the Commission of Inland Revenue. No requisite legal authority.
Ms. Motley said Mr. Sinclair continues to preside over increases in expenditure, reduced revenue and a failure to take action to put the country in a position where the bleeding will stop and reserves improve.
But perhaps that is the greatest failing of all, sir, that he could stand as Minister of Finance in this honourable chamber and admit in the budget that there had been a decline of $300 million in this country's foreign reserves in 3 months, and that it was as a result of a loss of confidence domestically and by domestic and foreign investors alike, was an indicator, sir, that we were dealing with a Minister of Finance who did not understand his role.
Only 3 members from the opposition side spoke during the debate of the motion, including MP for St. Michael North, Ronald Toppin, and MP for St. James North, Edmund Hinkson. Mr. Hinkson told the chamber that the measures implemented by the Finance Minister are onerous and is challenging Barbadians financially in the areas of health and even education.
We are in a situation today, sir, where schools are not being given supplies. This is now week 7, I believe it is, in the school term. Some schools, a lot of schools across the length and breadth of this country, have not been given supplies, whether cleaning supplies, other supplies by the ministry, toilet paper. They're going to bring their own toilet paper to school. Not being given these supplies by the Ministry of Education because the Minister of Finance has cut the budget.
And in the wind-up of a passionate reply to the opposition leader Mia Motley's charge, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair said he has been receiving hate mail from loyal Barbados Labour Party supporters. He also indicated that he was warned by the Royal Barbados Police Force that his life was under threat.
The gentleman said to me he did not wish me to be overly alarmed, but that for my safety I should be, 1, aware of my circumstances and my surroundings, 2, that I should approach Parliament with caution, and that they were going to detail officers. They were going to detail officers, Mr. Speaker, sir. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, for my protection.
But Ms. Motley vehemently denied the claim of hate mail from her party supporters, and she accused the government of seeking to distract the public from the matter at hand.
sir, you know, this really has to stop, because this government has now sought to execute its primary defense as trying to suggest that people are trying to get at them. All of us may have had issues in the past, but what you don't do is to get up on the floor of Parliament and use it as an excuse for people to plead mercy.
Mr. Sinclair resumed his wrap-up, countering charges by Ms. Motley that government's bonds were undersubscribed and rejected by international investors.
I say, and I put my full integrity behind it, Mr. Speaker, sir. We did not put a bond issue out in the market. We asked for a tender on our existing bonds to buy them back. The average rate of participation in buybacks on tenders is 40%. We got up to $140 million on the buyback. We weren't tendering new bonds. We were buying back the old ones. And we were asking the people who held them, do you want to sell us back? They were saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, that they want at a certain rate. We were negotiating at a lower rate.
Good.
Then the US shutdown came and we pulled out of the exercise.
Back to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Dale. And joining us live to discuss the outcome of that no confidence motion in Parliament is CBC's resident political analyst, Maureen Holder. Good evening, Maureen.
Hi, good evening, Michelle.
What's your take on today's exercise?
Well, Michelle, it was a very interesting exercise, I must say. And what I would say in favor of the opposition leader, like a true lawyer, she showed up. She defended her position. She articulated clearly why the no confidence motion was being brought against the finance minister. But in the end, we all knew the outcome. It was going to be defeated. And on that basis, I felt that it was a little counterproductive, because clearly Ms. Motley was the only one who could address this matter in any clinical and precise way. Anybody else coming in, because you notice that only 2 of the other MPs on the opposition side spoke to the matter. I felt that that was needed. It was necessary, because there wasn't much more that they could add that would strengthen the position brought by Ms. Motley, because she did such a good job in defending her position on the no confidence motion. So by and large, it was to the point, precise, and let's get it out of the way, so to speak. You know, that's my view on it.
Okay, we know for a fact that only Minister Sinclair responded to in the debate. What about the absence of a contribution from other members on the government side?
Well, really, there was no need to, really, because I would believe, or I would imagine, that the strategy on the government side would have already been decided. They have the majority, and unless one of those ministers, or sorry, government MPs took sick, then you would have the situation weighing in the balance. But that was not the case. All members showed up. So it's just a matter of getting the thing out of the way, deciding whether or not you're going to support the motion. And of course, all the members on the government side did not support the motion.
What do you think about what Mr. Sinclair had to say? Did he make his position any clearer?
Well,
did he defend himself?
I felt that there were some charges that he needed to defend. He defended 2 of them. That's the issue on the government bond issue, as well as the taxes, if my mind serves me correctly. But I felt that he needed more time. But the debate would have turned into a to and fro, Michelle. It would have turned into Chris Sinclair word against the opposition's evidence and so on, or the charges being brought against the opposition. So you don't want that at this point in time, because we already know that the motion was going to be defeated. So why waste government's time? Why waste the public's time by prolonging the issue? The ministers defended, I believe, what needed to be defended. And again, it raises the question of government dealing with its public relations. This matter on the government bond issue, that had traction in the media. Many persons were of the impression that Barbados could no longer borrow in international financial markets, or that our bond issue was rejected. As the minister cleared it up, it became more clear. It wasn't a case where the government actually offered a bond or issued a bond. It was a case where they tendered to buy back the bonds that were already out there in the market. So, I mean, these clarifications are very, very necessary, and the government needs to use its public relations arm to strengthen its position.
Okay, thank you very much, Maureen.
Thank you, Michelle.
And in other news, where There's more news about the economy. The central bank governor, Dr. Delay World, says that for the first 9 months of the year, the economy has contracted by 0.7%. Additionally, Dr. World says the foreign exchange reserves have declined by $447 million since December last year. Dr. World made the remarks as he delivered the central bank's review of Barbados' economic performance for the first 9 months of this year.
The budgetary tightening is intended to improve the external accounts in the coming months as economic agents adjust their expenditures downwards. In the interim, the foreign exchange reserves declined to $1 billion, a fall of $447 million since December 2012. However, reserve levels were adequate to cover contingencies such as this, and their foreign reserve cover was 13 weeks of imports as at the end of September.
Despite the dip, the central bank governor is predicting growth of less than 1% for Barbados next year and a pickup of economic activity in 2015. He also revealed the reasons for the dip in international reserves.
The main contributing factor to the foreign exchange weakness has been the decline in private foreign investment, from $473 million at September 2012 to $147 million at September this year. In addition, there were declines in foreign earnings from tourism, other services, sugar, beverages, and chemicals.
In his forecast, Dr. World said returns from initiatives and concessions in the tourism industry would help to spark a turnaround. He, however, noted that the impact of fiscal contraction would mean a depression in consumer demand for imports into next year.
The central bank forecast that the impact of the fiscal contraction will depress consumer demand for imports next year below this year's level. Current forecasts also indicate a moderate increase in foreign exchange earnings based on the planned intensification of marketing, product enrichment, fiscal incentives, and other government support.
Any concessions being given to Sandals Resorts International will be available to the entire tourism industry. This assurance from Tourism Minister Richard Seeley as he revealed what he says was the full extent of government's relationship with Sandals Resorts International. This involves the purchasing of the former Casuarina and managing the St. Peter facility with an option to purchase. Minister Seeley says the development of Sandals Beaches, the former Almond in St. Peter, will require about $500 million in investment. He added that concessionary financing is still being sought from the government of China. Mr. Seeley told the House as far as concessions for Sandals are concerned, all inputs for construction are to be free of all taxes and other imports.
This concession has been given previously to other projects, such as Westmoreland and the Pierhead Marina. Such concessions are also generally available to all approved tourism projects and products under the Tourism Development Act. It is therefore not new for the tourism industry in Barbados.
Minister Seeley says there are pre-existing concessions related to the operations of businesses like the use of linen and cutlery, which will also be updated for the entire industry. He also revealed a new category for concessions, that for food and beverage.
The Sandals properties in Barbados will provide on average an additional 130,000 visitors, and as stated earlier, will result in an investment of over 500 million Barbados dollars. It is proposed that with immediate effect, all investments of this size, that is 500 million Barbados dollars or greater, in the all-inclusive segment of the market, should qualify for this concession. The matter will remain under constant review, since it is also proposed to extend the concession to all other inclusive operators in Barbados as government finances permit.
8,000 burglaries were recorded in Barbados between 2006 and 2011, and the majority of victims were females and all the perpetrators were male. This information was gleaned from a study conducted by the National Task Force on Crime Prevention and revealed during a breakfast meeting dubbed Creating Awareness Protecting Our Property at the Courtyard by the Marriott this morning. Dale Ford has more.
Senior Research Officer with the task force, Kim Ramsey, told the audience that residential burglary is the most prolific crime locally, with jewelry, cash and electronic entertainment items being the top choice of criminals. However, in 8 out of 10 of those cases, the items were not recovered because there is a ready market for stolen items. Ms. Ramsey said Barbadians need to pay more attention to securing their homes.
We find that people have an indifference to securing their homes, or they're even unaware that they need to. So we found that 29% of victims stated that installing a burglar alarm may assist in reducing burglaries. 11% believe a guard dog may be helpful. And less than 2% believe that keeping trees trimmed and debushing around their homes can reduce burglaries. They do not see these things as priorities. And there are many homes in Barbados where you cannot even see the house because the bush. People want their privacy, but the burglars like it too. You understand? So these are things that need to be taken into consideration.
Ms. Ramsey said burglars also target single-family households and houses under construction. The study said that just over 40% of the houses burgled were insured.
We realized that a lot of people do not insure their property. And even if they insure their property, they're only insuring the house, but do not insure the contents because they believe that the risk of something like that happening is very low. So I believe that it's a matter of, you need to sell the message out there. You need to be more aggressive probably in sensitizing the public to the need to secure your items, especially considering that Barbados has a considerably high burglary rate.
According to the data, a third of the population at Dawes Prison is serving a sentence for burglary. Dale Ford for CBC News.
Meanwhile, the director of the task force, Cheryl Willoughby, has asked the Royal Barbados Police Force to reinstate community policing. Ms. Willoughby said community crime prevention is a key strategy proven to fight crime.
The creation of neighborhood watches, resident beat officer scheme, the day officer scheme, the juvenile liaison scheme were all established back in 1985, 1986 to address crime. They have been very effective over the years at building strong relationships between the police and members of the public.
She also said Barbadians have a responsibility to keep crime in check.
There is need for us to get involved in community activities and report crime to the authority. Not only report crimes, but also be willing to give evidence in court. No witness, no justice. If we have persons who are not willing to come forward and cooperate and go to court and say exactly what you've seen happening with regard to a criminal act, then you will find that perpetrators of these acts will continue to go unpunished.
A suspect is in custody assisting with investigations into the seizure of close to 400 pounds of cannabis at Maxwell Beach in Christchurch. The discovery was made last night during a joint operation by the Drug Squad, Coast Guard and the RSS. As a result of the bust, lawmen seized 9 bags of compressed cannabis weighing about 398 pounds and also a boat. A top government official has revealed the critical components for improving Barbados' competitiveness, boosting investment and driving exports over the next 8 years. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Senator Jepta Ince, says it's outlined clearly in government's medium-term growth and development strategy 2013 to 2020. He gave details on 2 of the key objectives.
Strategically repositioning the domestic economy so that Barbados can reap maximum benefits and those medium to long-term benefits from the inevitable upswing in global economic activity whenever it occurs. To improve the resilience of the Barbados economy to future growth and recession cycles by enhancing productivity, competitiveness, and creating the conditions necessary for the increased level of private investment and exports.
Senator Ince spoke about government's plans during the launch of the Productivity Council's handbook Get Up, or getting everyone to understand productivity. He also stressed the importance of the national focus on productivity.
As a government, we have said to the people of Barbados that our intent is not only to become a green economy, but one that embraces innovation and promotes productivity and competitiveness in all sectors. Thus, a national focus on productivity is a critical success factor for sustainability to be achieved and maintained.
Chief Executive Officer Laurie King supports the introduction and development of drama in the island school curriculum. This as he lauded the efforts of the Junior Festival Ambassador Program, which forms part of the Caribbean Secondary Schools Drama Festival, which runs from December 8th to 15th here in Barbados. In the feature address for the online launch of the drama initiative, Mr. King explained that drama and the performing arts will assist in strengthening the education system. He says that they help schools produce more well-rounded students.
The performing arts represents a core curriculum area in education which seeks to expose students to ways in which they can express ideas and emotions that they cannot express in language alone. The approach is not a haphazard one, as many sometimes think, but it is an approach that must be well thought out, well sequenced, and carefully structured.